name and he appears. I believe in Joe Hendry.
Yo, what's poppin', all my peeps? It is I, your host with the most, Renaissance man that always thinks he can, and your champion of the peeps, Patty Pitts, back once again in the Yard Streams for another edition of Pitts and Sara's Wrestling Show, where we take no nights off, because it's the No Nights Off Wrestling Show. And obviously, I'm not the only one in the Yard of Streams here. I'm joined by the best of the West that you can't forget about, Sara Marshall. What's poppin', girl?
Hey, yo.
Hello.
What's going on? How are we doing on this fabulous Thursday?
It's going.
It
feels like a long day. It's my Friday, so I think that also is why.
That's definitely it. I still got 2 more to go before we have our own mini weekend. And this was a long one today. Holy shit. This is where I actually get the thought that I truly believe I am a champion of people, because the amount of just calming down emotions and whatnot that I do on a daily basis is just so incredible. So and today was that I just put out fires all goddamn day. So it's nice to come home and, sit in front of the TV, catch up on our wrestling, and we then hop in here and talk about it, because no one's talking about what I'm into in my world. So I come over here into this world and talk with my peeps. Vinny, ayo to you. Ayo to you. Only one here in the comment section so far. That's all right, because we got a lot to talk about today in the show. All right. As you know, it is the Thursday show. We got a melting pot of topics that we're going to talk about. We're going to give our true feelings. This is when we come to life. I couldn't think of anything better. So instead of me just royal rambling, Sara, I think it's a good idea. Oh, hold on. It's a good idea to hear from another peep, David. And he's saying, go C's, baby. Need the Celtics.
I'm nervous. I'm very nervous.
All right. I love when you throw the P's, because it's just, we get the balloons. It's awesome.
Not every time. I don't even know. I don't know what exactly I do that trigger. There we go. I don't know.
Maybe you got to wave it.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's a really not sensitive sensor. So yeah, we heard from some peeps. I'm just talking out my ass. So Sara, let's just hop right into my favorite segment of the week.
Don't be a lemon, be a rosebud.
That's right, Sara. Don't be a lemon, be a rosebud. It is time for us to give our lemons and rosebuds of the week, our favorites, which are the rosebuds, and least favorites, which are the lemons, from wrestling all this week. Not just WWE, we saw online, something in wrestling related that we found either awesome or just downright terrible. And to give my motor mouth a break, Sara, how about you give me your rosebud of the week?
Okay. So they just revealed earlier this morning that the women-led NXT this past week was the highest rated in NXT since January. The highest rated episode of NXT since January. And, it's not like that's very newsworthy, I guess, because maybe things are in a better spot. Storylines are better now, whatever. I think the part that is newsworthy is the fact that there were so many women's segments and matches, and that is what makes it stand out, and I think that it's just showing the evolution of women's wrestling in general, but I think especially in WWE, because they used to be matches that everyone was joking about. Okay, you go to the bathroom, there's the bathroom match, or it's going to be a 3-minute match, whatever, and now they are often, I mean, not all the time on Raw and SmackDown, but sometimes there will be equal or maybe even more women's segments, or a ton of the women on the roster are being showcased on Raw or SmackDown. So the fact that this episode of NXT was so women forward, and then the ratings come in and they're higher than they have been for the past 5 months, like that's pretty cool. I think it just says a lot about, like what they're doing with them, and clearly something's going right because people are tuning in. They want to see them. So,
I mean, Chef Michaels for a reason. The hat fits because that dude is just cooking. You're right. Like, he is really taken the women's division in NXT and gave them their own little black and gold of NXT. It's really nice to see, to want to watch a women's women's match and women's storyline play out, and not just because they look great or they're doing some swimsuit content. Like, no, it's because of the actual match itself. Their battleground match, the North American Women's Championship, the ladder match, that I think that might be, other than Ethan Page and Trick Williams, that 6-person ladder match is in my top 3, because obviously Roxanne, Jordan Grace, that's the other one. But those 3 matches are in my top 3, and 2 of those matches are women's matches. It speaks volume. It really does there.
Yeah, so I hope that it keeps going. Like, I know that the ratings aren't going to be like this every single week. There's going to be weeks where they're lower, or maybe the women are the showcase of the show and it doesn't match. But I just thought this was cool because NXT is on fire. So the fact that an episode in at the beginning of June, and there were so many women featured on the show, and it did that well in the ratings, I feel like that's pretty cool.
It's really good.
Yeah.
Really good sign for things to come, for sure. I got a little thing for my Rosebud. All right. I told you this, and now I'm debuting it. We're keeping a list. We're keeping a tally of all our Rosebuds and Lemons. I want record of this, because sometimes shit might switch, which you'll find out this week. It's switching pretty hard. We'll start the women's tag match on Raw this week, championship match. I love the camera cuts that they were doing and the production that was going on with it, where it wasn't just, there was one camera shot I remember of the Jade or someone in the ring, but Bianca, they were outside, and the way they were panning to it just felt like it was very cinematic. I don't know, and very sports. Like, you know what I mean? It just felt new and refreshing. The AJ Styles, Mark Henry segment, the CEO dance, the CEO. I don't know what it is, because I wanted to hate it. That's the thing. I wanted to put it on my lemon list. It actually was, but I got doing it myself.
You know why you're doing it is because of Will Ospreay. If it wasn't for Will Ospreay, then you would have it on your lemon list.
Will Ospreay.
Maybe you like Will Ospreay doing the dance.
Then I was doing it, and I was like,
yeah, so it's Will Ospreay. It has nothing to do with Mercedes.
Okay, so I like Will Ospreay doing the Mercedes Moné dance, but I can hate the dance itself because I think it's just, it goes back to the song. I hate the song.
Does anyone even chant that when she comes out? Like, I'm not trying to be mean, but like,
yeah.
Do they really? Is it that loud? Yeah. Can you tell that it's
loud
though?
I can tell that they're chanting it.
Okay, but still, the clips I've seen, she just doesn't have like a lot of fire that people want her to have. Like, she doesn't seem to me to be like getting like huge pops every single time. But
you got to recognize how many people are in that arena, though.
I'm just saying, people want to say it's greener over there. She's being treated better over there. Blah blah blah. She's the biggest star in the world and whatever. I'm like, oh, girl, I don't think so.
I still think
not anymore.
But she's not the biggest star in the division. But I still believe she's a big star. But they
want you to believe she's the biggest star in the division, though.
For the TBS title, yes.
No, in all of AEW, women, they want you to believe that she is the top girl in the entire company, is what I'm saying.
That's correct.
Yeah, but
it's just not true.
Yeah, but she's not bigger than the top women in WWE, in my opinion. She's not bigger than Becky. She's not bigger than Rhea.
Bianca. I think Bianca is.
Yeah. I would say she's not big.
Yep.
Maybe Becky, Rhea, Bianca, I would probably say, are like, she's not on their level anymore.
Yeah.
I think that her hype faded a lot. Like, I don't mean that in a mean way, but like she stepped away and wasn't doing anything with wrestling, and then she returns, and then it took like 3 months for her to finally get in the ring. Like, there's just not a lot of excitement there. You know what I mean? Because by the time you actually get in the ring, they're already used to you because you've been around every single week for the past three months or whatever it was. Now you're getting in the ring and it's like, yeah, okay, that's cool, but like it's not as exciting as if you returned and then, you know, the next or that weekend you're having a match and then it's like, oh wow, like they're still trying to digest that you returned or that you debuted and you're in AEW and now, oh my god, I can't believe you're finally wrestling. It's like, I get why they wanted to have her debut in Boston, but the fact that then she couldn't wrestle for another few months, like that's kind of like so weird to me. Like she would have been so much more over, in my opinion, if they just waited. But like if
But
you
then
knew
you
that,
could have done Boston, Sarah.
but like
You done
okay,
it.
like go back to Boston then. Like like you can. It doesn't matter. Like I don't know.
Another one we're gonna go outside. Ethan Page, Jordan Grace. Gotta throw that out there as my roses because holy shit, Ethan Page cooked on NXT. That
He's receiving
contract
high
signing.
praise from what I understand, from what I read.
Good. He needs it. He's so good, so talented, and he's very good in the ring too. Like there was one match he had before he kind of faded away in oblivion, with Tony Nese in Ring of Honor. That was like an I Quit match or something. Really balled out. Like one of his one of those matches that raises an eyebrow of sorts. And then I'm trying to stick with outside of WWE as for me. I mean, I not gonna lie, I know you're not a fan of it, but this really kind of made my day. It was so long, and I got home and I was exhausted. All I wanted to do was just watch something ridiculous to calm my mind. It was Botchamania. I find it hilarious. Not the people botching, but Matthew does a really great job and puts a lot of work into it. So I respect people that put a lot of work into something and have grown it. And God, it's just so entertaining. I think it's so. I want to give him a shout out there. And then one more. I love Swerve as AEW champion. Like I don't care that he's feuding with Will Ospreay right now, Forbidden Door. I don't care. That's such a side quest in the bigger story of Swerve's championship reign. So I don't like, okay, cool, two champions are fighting at Forbidden Door. Well, what's the pay-per-view? It's Forbidden Door. It's not one of AEW staples that's like their own. So have him do a dream match that people have been clamoring for online for so long. It's the only time that you can really do this when the oven's hot. I think that's the stove is hot. So just do it. So I'm into that. But yeah, those are my roses.
I would say one of mine also is Christian's interview with Chris Van Vliet.
Very good.
I like that he wasn't in character.
Yes.
Because a lot of people now, especially when they're trying to like be big time heels, they keep doing interviews in character. And it's like, I get it. It's like with MJF, you can't ever get him out of character. Grayson Waller, you can't ever get him out of character. And it's like, I admire that. And I get it. It's an old school thing, but I feel like, sometimes I just don't feel like it's necessarily needed or appropriate because people actually do want to hear what you have to say or what you think and whatever. So I just thought it was pretty cool that Christian did this long interview with him and he was just being himself. So, and I learned some things about him from that. So, and I was like, that's the nice guy I met when he was World Heavyweight Champion.
Yes.
The one more match. Yes.
One more match.
Yes,
I love
sir.
that.
Yeah.
He's very, that's what happens when you've been around the game so long. I love the little tidbit that he threw out about Chris Jericho taking his spot, or not taking his spot, excuse me, being added to his championship match with John Cena, and that led to his decision to leave and go to TNA.
Yeah.
And it's a little thing like that you really think about, like, in retrospect, how they just fumbled a lot of guys like that.
Well, Vince is lucky that he came back.
Very
because
lucky.
he was one of the first few. I mean, there were people before him, but I think that as Chris says, like, he was one of the first ones that jumped ship, because I don't know if people remember, like, TNA was really hot at that point, and even though they weren't direct competition, because WWE hasn't had direct competition since WCW, it was a big deal that he left WWE and went to TNA. Like, that was a huge deal, and as Chris said, it was before Kurt Angle, so like, it was a big deal. But he was also kind of one of the first people that did that, made themselves into a bigger star, and then came back. And that was why Vince wanted them back, because we talk about Drew McIntyre doing that, Cody Rhodes doing that, but this was really early on. Like, this was in the mid 2000s that he was doing that. And it's crazy to me to still think about how a guy like Christian had to go and do that, because Vince was just like so caught up in his ways of like, okay, I prefer Edge, like, Christian's not going to be anything. And then it's like, you really needed to go and see him in a different company, wrestling with different people and having more freedom to finally click to you that, like, oh, maybe he actually is pretty good. It's like, I don't think that to me, it just reminds me of things of like, there are certain wrestlers where, like The Undertaker, and I understand The Undertaker's like untouchable. I'm not saying that, but like,
No,
even Undertaker had to change character. You know what I mean? But he was never
Yeah.
really on the brink of being fired by Vince McMahon. Why? Because he loved him. So he was going to give him chance after chance after chance after chance. Like, he was going to do everything in his power to make sure Undertaker did not get fired. So it was like, okay, maybe the Undertaker gimmick is over right now. Let's move on to the American Badass thing. And it was like, okay, cool. But it's like, when it comes to a guy like Christian, it's like, when it comes to a guy like Cody Rhodes, it's like,
well, the Undertaker thing, the Undertaker is like third or something. He was in WCW and he couldn't get over his mean mark, and he was trying to go on a singles run. He was,
imagine going by mean mark.
It was mean mark something, I forget.
I know,
but insane that, like,
was it Mark Calloway? That's his name.
No, because I almost said mean Mark Calloway,
okay,
because that's his name.
Yeah,
but it's something. It's not that. And he kind of just floating around the mid card, a little bit of an upper undercard, and then comes to WWE, and an idea like that, boom, it just hits. It's insane. But it was all about the right person. And it was like, Vince is like, that's the thing that's crazy to me, because you see Christian, you see Angle, I mean, Cody Rhodes now, if you want to go there, Drew McIntyre. There's just so many names now that came back, but they had to go outside to find out who they were.
Yeah.
Very interesting. All right. We've been talking a lot of good, but we do got to talk about the bad. Here's the thing. I'm going to start out my lemon with probably something you could get behind and agree with. Okay.
Okay.
On the learning tree.
Yeah.
I hate him. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. I get it. I understand it. Like, haha, I know what you're doing.
But like,
God damn, it's so fucking annoying.
But the thing is, though, is like, okay, yeah, you get what he's trying to do, but like, he's still harming other wrestlers in the process. You know what I mean? Like, not physically, but like, you're not. What you think you're doing is not what you're doing. You're actually bringing these people down, like to the point of Eric Bischoff talking about how Hook needs to get out of AEW and get to NXT because Chris Jericho is ruining him. Like, we're getting to that point. You know what I'm saying? Like, and these are people who respect Chris Jericho. It's not because like, oh, they have a beef with him and that's why they're saying this. It's like, no. Like, if you were working with maybe established talent that didn't need to kind of like build on Jericho's back to become like a bigger star or more legitimate or something like that because they're young in their career, if he was just working with people that were maybe at the same level as him or had been around the game for a long time, people would probably be eating this up. Like, it would be corny and weird and annoying. That's the point. But like, you're also not like causing problems to a younger talent's development in the process. Like, no one would be really complaining if he were doing this with Edge, or I'm sorry, Adam, You know what I mean? Like,
add him to you now.
you know what I mean? Like, that would be
Yeah.
like, oh, okay, yeah. But no, it's because no one has to worry about his like authenticity falling or like his legitimacy being questioned. Like, but the fact that you're going after guys that actually should be benefiting from working with Chris Jericho, and yet you're like, I have to have the title, and you can't beat me, and I'm just gonna go out here and act like I'm like Joel Osteen or something. I don't know. It is very weird.
It's so cringy, and
At least
you're
he's
right.
accomplishing that.
No, he's the right accuracy, but the thing that annoys me the most with it is that it is on TV. It's not like a YouTube segment. It's not a
Yeah.
social clip. Like if he's doing that and it's with younger talent, boom, that's it. Because all you're doing is you're keeping yourself relevant, you're catering to that fan, and then when it comes to TV time, like they're in a match
Yeah,
and
that's a good
you come out after it or whatnot. Like Brian Keith being part the bounty hunter, it's like, and you probably don't know who he is, but goddamn, he is really good, and a lot of people can talk about him. He's really good. I see a lot of potential in him, but now he's in the gimmick. He's in the vortex, which that's canon now. The vortex is canon because Chris Jericho said it on TV. So like he's taking shit that is internet jargon that commenters in the IWC are saying to each other, and he's using it.
But that just shows you how deluded he is.
Exactly.
Like, he doesn't get that they're not in on the joke. Like,
but isn't it hilarious that if he just did one thing different by
I know.
not hoarding the TV time and
Mhm.
just putting it into social clips,
It's because
it'd be a genius idea, and
Yeah.
we'd be singing his praises now.
Because I think that would be so much better, because then he could even be like in matches and then have the students out there to watch. Like that again, that's not harming them. You know, it'd be like, oh, okay, yeah, but you're not really like interacting with them or being like, you're a bad apple. You know, like if that was a social thing, a social clip or whatever, that's fine. But like,
Yeah.
And it would be more understandable that he's like trying to teach the new in green talent because he's been around the game for so long. They're like, okay, yeah, that makes sense. Maybe he'll have that cringy personality, sure, because he needs to have something different.
Yeah.
But like, I don't know. I think that he's so far past like understanding how wrestling works, because he just wants to still be doing it, that he doesn't really care what he's doing as long as he's on TV. Like he just like he doesn't care about putting other people over. He wants to put himself over. Maybe he's become Goldberg and he's become a mark for himself. I feel like that's probably
I really hope we're not getting there.
It kind of feels like we've been there, honestly.
Because
if you're past the point of being able to actually be like a team player in professional wrestling, then you've become a mark for yourself. Because like I said, I always reference my beloved Scott Hall, who has always said, like, the whole point is trying to make each other look good. And if you got to lose, then you got to lose. Why do you think he never gave a shit that he never won the WWE title? Why do you think that he was fine with having like a legendary career known for being Intercontinental Champion? Like, if that were a Chris Jericho, he would be screaming it from the rooftop still right now. Scott didn't give a shit because his career was so good that it didn't matter. You didn't care. Like, it's almost shocking to people when they find out that he was actually never world champion.
I would say it is shocking.
It is, right?
It is shocking to people.
But you don't automatically think of that because you already know, like, he was so good as Razor Ramon. The NWO is iconic and whatever. Like, the first thing in your head is not, oh my God, he didn't win the title. It's like, wow, he was such a good Intercontinental Champion. And he was so good at doing whatever he had to do to put people over and to make other people look good. And it's like, that's part of the business. And some people just don't want to accept that. And I think that, I'm not saying Jericho never was like that, but I think that he might be at a point in his career where he's like, okay, I've been around long enough. I don't have to do that anymore. You know what I mean? And it's like, no, you actually should be doing it more now, because now you're in a position where you don't need to be put over anymore. You're Chris Jericho. You should be putting that energy into helping to develop the next the next cast of people that are going to be taking over AEW once you leave, because that's going to happen eventually. They can't constantly have Chris Jericho's running around running the company. Like, that's not going to happen. So
kind of do with my next lemon, the Acclaim segment with the Young Bucks. The Acclaim came out and we're gonna cut a diss track on the Young Bucks, but then the Young Bucks came on the Titantron and said, "Oh, due to time constraints and you guys talking about us in a very disrespectful way, we're gonna cut your segment." So they cut the segment, like literally. I thought it was gonna be a cut the segment, but then they go to the ring and go on a tirade about the new management and yada yada. No, they legit just cut the segment. It was so fucking bizarre. I was so confused. I really thought I was getting worked or something.
See, I
and
think
then they go back.
As
You
an
like that?
outsider, I like it.
Really?
Yeah, because I think that they need to do more of that kind of stuff to sell themselves as like they are the EVPs. Like, they're not going to use their power just to put themselves in matches or title matches or a main event. Like, they need to show that they can do other things, like cut a match if they want, or cut a segment. Like, to me, that's going to get them more hate, because I think people forget that they have those capabilities. It's not just doing things in their favor. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, you can put yourself in the main event on every single show, every single night. You can give yourself as many title shots as you want, because that's what people assume that you're going to do if you had that much power. But also, no, like, cut that shit you don't like. You know what I mean? Especially to some of the people that are the most over people in the company. Do that shit. That's going to piss people off. So I like it. I don't know. As an outsider, I find it entertaining.
Sara likes something from AEW. We are
Mhm.
really making moves here. Clip that shit. That's like my only bad from AEW, I think. Not gonna lie, which is not too bad. Troy Simpkin, you're gonna understand why on the third fall or third of the 3 count. Gallus, I don't like him. I think they're just floating. Joe Coffey's cool. I think Joe Coffey's pretty cool, but like everyone else, like I just take it or leave it.
To me, all they are is just like, aren't they Irish? They're just like big Irish dudes. Like,
yeah,
okay, that's like a cool gimmick.
That's
like,
my family. Like, I don't.
The family is boring. The thing
No,
about
I love the family.
The family is whatever, but they're not gonna. I don't think they'll last on the main roster. They're too fictional. It's too Sopranos. You know what I mean? Like, to me, it feels too early 2000s. Like, it reminds me of like the FBI. You know what I mean? Like, I just don't know that it's gonna work on the main roster, because it doesn't feel legitimate. Like, it works in NXT, but like, are we really gonna have segments where they're putting a guy in the trunk and like dumping their body in the water? You know what I mean? Like, I just don't think that's gonna work. But
it might fly on Netflix though. Keep that in
maybe.
mind. It might fly on Netflix. You definitely won't see it on USA, but it could fly on Netflix.
Well, I don't mean that they wouldn't allow it. I just mean I don't know that the audience will be like receptive of it, is what I mean. Like, because I think that the audience for Raw and SmackDown, they don't. If they're gonna get that type of like, fantasy fictional type of stuff, it feels like they are more inclined to maybe like more of the Bray Wyatt stuff, because you expected that from him.
Yeah,
but when you're kind of like doing something that's still a little bit realistic, but still not like, still too movie like, it's a little bit hard to get behind. You know what I mean? Because it does feel like The Sopranos, and it's like, okay, but we know that shit's not happening in real life. Or if it is happening in real life, dudes are not doing that on TV. You know what I'm saying? There's mobs and gangs and shit. They're not going to have you. They're not going to have you film it and put it on television. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
So I think that's why it's a little bit, I don't know. Also, Vinny, I'm not trying to say anything bad, but Tony D is not a big dude. We saw him in person.
He's kind of.
Yeah, him and Julius Creed. Not very big.
Real G's move in silence like lasagna.
They're kind of small. Like, I'm not saying they're not jacked or whatever, but
no,
like,
Julius Creed was big.
He wasn't really. He wasn't much bigger than Tony. Not really.
I'd say Julius Creed is like 6'3".
To you, tall is probably like 5'9", because you're not 5'9". I don't know if you're that tall.
I am 5'9".
I think you're probably 5'8". Something.
No.
Mhm.
Wrong. Wrong.
But anyway, so I don't know. They just weren't like as big as I thought they were. Like I thought Mojo Rawley was gonna be way bigger, and then I saw him in the
That's-
elevator, and I was like, "Oh,
He didn't even say hi, you rude ass.
I know." But then he didn't answer me on Twitter again, so
He
that's
didn't.
him.
I wonder if we walked past him going to that bar. I wonder.
I don't know. He'll never know.
And then the last two are the Fickle fans.
I'm like, yeah, hurry up. I haven't even said mine yet. We haven't gotten ready. On the other
Fickle
ones.
fans and Rey Mysterio main eventing in 2024. Got it.
The one thing about Rey Mysterio though was that old lady thing. That was pretty funny.
That was really funny. Funny.
I don't have a whole lot to say about a lemon, but because I want to talk about other stuff. But I'm just gonna be complaining again about Pretty Deadly not being on TV. That's basically what I'm here to say. Because I'm starting to get to that point where I'm getting nervous that I'm like, what are they going to do? They're going to release them or they're just going to do something. And I just really don't want that to happen because I don't really understand how we got to this point. I don't get how once they were brought up to SmackDown, they were being featured every single week, getting like these awesome video segments. And like even around WrestleMania, they had that they did the tag team match. Like they were, setting it up in that video before the tag team ladder match at WrestleMania.
Yeah, it was awesome.
You're doing all these entertaining spots and then it's like now there's nothing. And I haven't seen anything about either of them being injured. So it's like, okay, so what are we doing? Like there's just no excuse for it. Like, oh, okay, well, it's A-Town Down Under are the tag team champions, so they can't be feuding with them. Okay, but that doesn't mean they can't be on TV. That doesn't mean that they can't be in a match. That doesn't mean that they can't have a segment with A-Town Down Under when they were like previously aligned with Austin Theory. Like it just really worries me. And I told you I was afraid about this happening, about them getting called up. I said I felt like this was going to happen and it didn't at first, and now I'm nervous that it's happening, and I'm like really sad about it because I feel like they're just far too good to be like not being used at all. And I don't even know that I feel more confident in them going somewhere else and like doing it. I don't know. It's like I don't even think that they should have to go back down to NXT. Like that shouldn't be a thing either.
Do you think that they could pop up at Clash of the Castle?
I mean, maybe, but like in what way?
There's no tag team title match, right?
Not yet, at least.
So you could have like a DQ finish and them just storm the ring or attack whoever wins.
But see, like then that's even problematic though, because you would think that they would, okay, DIY versus A-Town Down Under. Okay, but if they get involved in that, then that stupid feud between those two teams continues. You know what I mean? And then it's like, do we really need to keep seeing that? So like, I don't know. I'm just bummed about it. Like, I just don't think that there's any reason for it. It's the same thing with Giovanni Vinci. Like, what are we doing? Why is he still not around? What are like we didn't need, this long between Kaiser turning on him and beating him up and now, like however long it is until maybe he pops back on TV. We know that it wasn't going to take that long to heal from whatever was wrong with him. So I'm just disappointed.
I am too about that. All right. What's poppin'? Time to talk about what's popping on our social media feeds and interests in the wrestling business right now. Do you want to go in order or do you want to talk about the birthday boy? Drew McIntyre, birthday today.
Hold on. There's a comma at the end. We don't like that.
I'm sorry.
Okay. That was me, not you.
Okay.
Yeah. So WWE posted a tweet because that's what I'm still gonna call it. I don't care if it's called X now. It's never. I'm not gonna be.
X?
They posted an X. No. They said happy birthday to Drew McIntyre and they named him the undisputed champion of social media. And I'm like, yes, hello. Because did you see his video? It's about being stuck in the WWE headquarters. Come on.
So funny.
It's hilarious. He's just like, oh, wow, you just opened the door and leave. Like, that's how you get out. And then he just obviously brings it back to Punk being like, oh, it must take too much tricep power to open the door. And I'm just like, this man never sleeps. Okay. And I don't care what anyone says because people want to try and say that the reason why Drew McIntyre is in the position he's in is because of CM Punk. And I just want to say, are you delusional?
That is pretty delusional. I'm
That
not
is
gonna lie to you.
delusional to me. I cannot believe
Very
that I actually
delusional.
saw someone being dead ass serious about that. Like Drew would be doing nothing if it weren't for CM Punk. What? Nothing really even happened between CM Punk and Drew McIntyre until the Royal Rumble. He had been back for over a month at that point. What? Like we thought that Drew might
What?
win the Royal Rumble. That
We
had nothing
did
to,
think that. We
No,
did. We
that
we
had
did
nothing to
think
do with
that.
CM Punk. So what are we talking about?
No.
It's like, no, CM Punk is still relevant in WWE 6 months almost or 5 months after he injured himself because of Drew McIntyre. And that isn't even just saying like, oh, Punk would fade into oblivion, but in a way he kind of would have, because as we've said a million times, he came back, did a couple of appearances on Raw between, Survivor Series and
The Royal
the
Rumble.
Raw after Royal Rumble, and then he got injured. So it would have been very easy to forget. Sometimes I still do forget that he's returned. If it's like, if you didn't see them advertising his t-shirt or you don't hear Drew talking about him, it is kind of easy to forget that he's around, because he never really got to establish his presence back in WWE because he got injured and he hadn't been like a regular on Raw every single week. So this type of stuff, like, Punk has to be thankful to him, because it's like,
Oh yeah.
he's doing
Keep
way
him
more than
relevant.
he needs to do. But I did see an interview with him, and I don't even know who the interview was with, but Drew was saying that he's like begging for him versus Punk at SummerSlam. So
That would go so hard. That would be an incredible match.
but also, if that's what it is, then I feel like, doesn't Drew have to be the champion? Or is it just going to be like, I mean, it could work. I feel like Drew versus Punk, and it doesn't have to have the title, but it's hard to believe that he's going to have a match with Damian at Clash at the Castle, and then, a month and a half ish goes by, and he's already moved on from like his sights of the title.
Yeah,
I feel like that's
exactly.
weird.
No.
The only way I could see that working is if he wins Money in the Bank. That's the only way I could see it being
I'm
like,
not a
okay,
fan of him winning Money in the
I
Bank.
love it, because he could do the exact same thing to Damian that he did to Drew at Mania, and it's like it could taunt Punk. I'm saying, or Punk wins, but I don't want Punk to win. Punk's been Mr. Money in the Bank, hasn't he?
Yeah, but I don't want Punk to win either.
Punk could win Money in the Bank if Drew wins the World Heavyweight title. It like amplifies their feud even more, because now he's going to be super paranoid with Punk behind him. I'm saying that would work. I'm not saying it's what I want.
It's a great idea.
I'm saying it would work.
It is. I like what you said, like if they're feuding and he's got the Money in the Bank, but he's like, I like that element of it. But when it comes to Money in the Bank, there's just, I can name 5 other people I want.
Okay, who of the men should win Money in the Bank over them?
All right, LA Knight won.
Okay, we already talked about how we thought that he should win the United States title, but okay.
I could still want him over Punk winning it.
But
that's the answer. That's the question.
But he either wins Money in the Bank or the US title. So I got some scathing comments on that video, by the way, who thought that I was actually insane for saying I wanted him to win the US title. And
what kind of people are on our? There's like, that is not even that's not a bad. That's like a good.
They wrote a novel, multiple novels to me about how I was wrong because he should win Money in the Bank, and I'm an idiot for not thinking so. And I'm like, I'm sorry, because they were like, well, he could easily move to Raw. They're not going to have him move to Raw when the World Heavyweight title is literally intertwined between like 5 different people right now. So why would I want LA Knight to win Money in the Bank, to stay on SmackDown, to never be able to cash it in against Cody because he would never win? Why would I want that?
Jey Uso.
I hate that.
I'd want Jey Uso over Punk.
Okay. Yes. I'd want Punk.
Okay. No.
The men, I think, is really difficult.
Could it be Gunther? I think you could.
No, because he has the match at SummerSlam.
Oh, that's right. Fuck.
I really think that it's going to be someone who doesn't need it this year. That's what I think it is. Unless they somehow just give it to like Braun Breaker or something like that.
That's it. That's what I want.
I'm just saying, like, I think if it's not like someone who actually is a newcomer to the main roster, I think it's going to be someone who doesn't actually need it. Like, I think it might be one of those years where it does go to a Drew McIntyre, a CM Punk, whoever, you know what I mean? Someone who's had titles before. We could be in store for that this year, which I'm not mad about that, because I feel like if it makes sense to whatever stories they're doing, then that's fine, because we saw how it was like not super beneficial for Damian. So it's like, I would much rather them give it to somebody that doesn't really need it, so they don't need it to like elevate their career, then give it to somebody, and then you're gonna have them just like dragging along for like months and months and months, and then you're like, all right, I guess you should cash in now. Like, if they're not gonna give them a proper chance the way that they kind of had to force the situation with Damian at Mania, I don't want them to do that with somebody else that might actually need it. I feel like that's not fair. You know?
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
I do know what you're saying. I'm just taking it in to see if I still agree with myself. I just don't want Punk his Money in the Bank. I want.
I'm not saying I want it. I'm just saying
I know
it
you're
would
not. I
be-
know
it
you're
would
not.
be-
I
It
know
would be
you're
a
not.
funny part of Drew McIntyre's story. It's like what we were saying, like if Finn Balor won Money in the Bank, right? If
Okay, well,
Damian retains, that would be hilarious. It would be so good for the Judgment Day story,
all right.
because
I'm letting it play out.
you know. So it's like that's what I'm saying with like Drew. If Drew doesn't win at Clash of the Castle, giving him the Money in the Bank. Well, we can't wrestle yet. We don't know. I also don't love that, because what does that do?
That's just chaos. I don't know. Yeah, that kind of broke my brain, because I was trying to figure out who should win Money in the Bank, other than who I thought. La la la. Yeah, let's talk about this. MJF had some comments. I forget what show it was on. That he did have serious
He was
thoughts.
talking with Sports Illustrated. I have
Sports
the
Illustrated.
quotes
Oh yes,
right here.
let's go.
He was asked in an interview with Sports Illustrated if WWE was an option for him before he returned to AEW, but that he ultimately decided to return to AEW, obviously because they paid him a ton of money. He said, of course there was. Am I going to get into the weeds? No, at this point, this move, aka staying with AEW, was what made most sense for me. I'm making a ton of effing money. As far as when the contract ends, that's nobody's business but my own.
Right.
So yeah, I think that what I wish I guess that we could have gotten from that is like, I mean, him saying I'm not going to get into the weeds of it, that kind of could say it, but I wish we would have known a little bit more if WWE actually reached out to him during that period, instead of it just being like MJF saying, yeah, it was an option. Okay, well, yeah, it's going to be an option for you. You know what I mean? Like, you're MJF at this point. So it's like, even if they didn't reach out, it would be an option. I'm just curious if they did. Like, that would be more interesting to me to know if Triple H did make the call and inquire about like, hey, where you at? Blah, blah, blah. I still think MJF is probably going to get there eventually. I think it would be a huge loss for him. Like, I would almost feel for him if he never got to WWE, simply because he's tried so hard in the past and he grew up such a huge WWE fan. Like, I would feel for him if he never did it, you know? Like, even if it was his own decision, I feel like it's just one of those things where it's like, it was your childhood dream. And even if your childhood dream has changed a little, because things have changed since you got older, I don't know. It would just kind of make me feel bad. Like,
it's gonna happen at some point. MJF needs to, and what he's doing, he kind of said it. You mentioned something in one of the quotes to Sports Illustrated. He said something about Ric Flair and how he was, the face of wrestling outside of WWE, and that's basically what he is. He's spot on when your name is being chanted at WWE's biggest event of the year. It may be on some, talk show of it, whatever, but it's during WrestleMania week, and
people thought he was going to be there.
Yeah, we talked about it at World. You were like, you asked me that.
I was like, what if MJF is showing up? What if MJF shows up?
So that was not in.
Imagine.
That's what I'm saying. Like, imagine, and he not a WWE guy. Now, he's not been in a main roster guy, only backstage and local talent. So I'm with you there. I would love to see him in WWE. I think it is going to happen. And I mean, for God's sakes, he paid homage to Triple H with the
Yeah,
jean
and he
jacket. Like,
confirmed that. Yeah, he
oh yeah,
confirmed it.
confirmed it without saying it verbatim. But yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah.
think
What's he saying?
I still think that it's one of those things where it kind of goes back to what I said about Christian in his interview with Chris Van Vliet, where he felt like he needed to go to TNA to prove that he could be this big star and could do it by himself and whatever, so that and his ultimate goal was to do that and then come back to WWE. I feel like in a lot of ways, for people who are very clearly, and I say this in a respectful way, to me, a guy like MJF is bigger than AEW, and I feel like he's too big for AEW. To me, it feels like he's using it as a launching pad to eventually get to WWE. But by that time, it's like he's already a household name or household initials. He's already well established. He's already been a good guy, bad guy here, this and that. He's been tag team champion. He's been a world champion. Like, he's already so established in the industry, but by the time he gets to WWE, it's not going to be like, oh, who's that guy? Or, should we pay him money? You know what I mean? Like, I think that that's kind of what he's doing.
I have a question for you.
Or at least I assume, because like I said, I think that he screams WWE guy to me in a lot of ways, even if he does have a lot of AEW threads to him.
I have a question for you. Do you think that he goes to Hollywood before WWE?
I think if we knew how long his AEW contract was, I could answer that.
I could see him making a pit stop in Hollywood, then going to WWE. So
I think it depends on how long his contract is, though, because he's not going to want to necessarily go to WWE when he's like 37. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, that's true.
So I think it depends, but he can also dabble in Hollywood. Like, he can do some movies, or he can do a couple television shows that don't take a lot of long-term commitment. He can still do that and be active in wrestling every single week. So, I mean, Tiffany Stratton just signed to an agency, so it's like
she did Pentagon, I think it is. Right?
So it's like I could see that happening.
All these contract talks, before we get into the next topic, all these contract talks, and now the people from Fightful are saying who they're represented by. This is like so cool that to me it feels that wrestlers are getting that free agent treatment that professional sports.
Well, that's why I feel that's what I was gonna say when MJF says, oh, like the details of his contract are no one's business. I'm like, well, like if you want to be kind of treated like the NFL or something like that, then like kind of is our business. You know what I mean? Like, not necessarily our business, but if you want it to be like you guys are a legitimate sport like the NFL, NBA, NHL, whatever, it's like, well, it's you can go and access their contracts easily. I get that there's a little bit more secrecy in professional wrestling because you don't want to, people didn't know that MJF was looking for a new contract at this point. Like, no one knew that, like, oh, he could have left to go to WWE. You kind of had a feeling like it could have happened, but you didn't really know because you didn't know all the details of what was going on. So I think they kind of like that aspect of it. At least some of them do. But we don't even know numbers. We don't even know how much they get paid, which is really interesting because that's the other thing. There was somebody, and I can't remember who it was. It might have been Meltzer because he's a fucking clown. He said something about how like the minimum salary in WWE right now is like $350,000. I was like, you're bullshitting.
There's
like, you
no
are
way that's
such
possible.
a fucking liar. But people were eating it up and they were like, love to see it. I'm like, this is not happening, guys. If that were a thing, Sasha Banks would be back in WWE. Are you kidding me? She was looking for like 600,000 plus a year. If their minimum was 350, you're telling me Tozawa's making 350. All right. NXT talent making 350. All right. Sasha's coming in looking for 600 plus, maybe closer to $1 million, and you're telling me that they told her no?
Yeah, the only people who make $1 million are probably like Cody Rhodes. I don't even think Randy probably just got there. Cena was
Roman. Roman.
Roman definitely is.
Yeah. But those are like
Seth?
Yeah. I would say so. But it's like
Becky?
Yes.
Okay.
That's why Mercedes wanted Becky money. Why do you think they were dropping that? It wasn't Charlotte money. It was Becky money. That's why I'm saying that she wouldn't like Becky in AEW.
No one wants it. No one wants it.
That's
except
why
for
it's even
TK.
they even asked Chris Jericho in an interview about Becky Lynch rumors. I was like, stop being an idiot. Stop.
Well, Chris Jericho, that would not be in his favor. That would take up from his TV time. All right, we can't have that, Sarah.
Okay.
We've discussed this.
Okay.
I heard 300K is meant for main roster, but like that's the thing.
A lie. That's a lie. It's a lie.
So the Creed brothers are making 300K.
It's a lie. It's not true.
It can't
not
be.
true. They would be like, okay, why do you first of all why?
Yeah, no shit.
Yeah, there are several that make a multi-million. Yes, we know. But I'm saying like it's a lie that the minimum is 300,000. No, it's not. Like it's not. It's no. Because then you would say like, okay, then like the average top star is making $1 million a year. That's not even like Roman Reigns. You know what I mean? You're trying to tell me that just like the average person, like Alpha Academy, you're telling me Chad Gable's making $1 million a year? Fuck no. Like this is why it drives me absolutely insane. And I've said it before. Why people listen to Meltzer like he's gospel sometimes, and other times they say he's clowning. And it's like, because they want to believe that people are making 350K minimum on the main roster. They want to believe that's true. It's not true, but they want to believe it, so they say it's true. But like then Meltzer will come out and say that he gives Lyra versus Nia a 1.25 stars, and they're like, what an idiot. It's like, what? Like, I don't get it. But they're not making 300K. Like, that's a joke. None of them even probably give them that much money a year. They're not selling shit. They're not selling tickets. They're not selling merch. Why would they pay them 300,000 a year? It makes no sense. Absolutely no sense.
Bro, that makes no sense. I don't get it. It can't be true.
I was like commenting on like all of the aggregators' accounts who are posting this. I'm like, this is not true. Like, why? I want it to be like, sometimes I wish I had a burner just so I could say, why are you all so fucking stupid? I just want to say things like that. Because it's
That's
like, why do you eat this up? Why? It's not true. It's so easy to know that this isn't true. But
more contract news, because that's kind of where we're at in the season. Dijak, it's you spelled it wrong.
Oh, sorry.
I got it.
Wow, you are correcting me?
I know. That's just absolute nonsense. Dijak might leave WWE before debuting on Raw because his contract is up fairly soon. The conversations have been going positively well, according to Fightful, but that's where we're at. And it would be very sad.
They're still far away in negotiations, and he was not at this past Raw. So that's why it's becoming like more of a story, because he had been at Raw previously. And he wasn't this past week. I kind of feel like I don't mind them keeping him off TV, like if that's what they're trying to do, because I don't think that just because they drafted him, they have an obligation to put him on TV right away. I think actually that's a bigger issue when they try to do that, because then they're trying to force something that they don't have any like reason to for, you know what I mean? Like, if they don't have plans for Dijak, then don't put him on TV yet, because, and I don't think he would want to be put on TV. I don't know him, but like, I wouldn't want to be up there, put on TV just so that you could say you put me on TV, but you actually don't have any plans for me. So I'm just going to be doing these random matches with no actual storyline or no feud. Like, there's no end game here. It's just like, okay, well, we drafted you. We got to put you on TV. That's what I feel like that's what they're doing. I'm sure part of it also has to be because his contract is up. So it's like, why put you on TV if we don't even know if you're going to resign? Seems kind of counterproductive. But I mean, if they're saying it's positive, I mean, I'm assuming that they're going to have to sell him on like, okay, we're going to do this with you, because he's going to then he can use like the whole Braun Breaker thing to negotiate, be like, all right, I see what you're doing with Braun Breaker. See what you're doing with Lyra. I want that. That's the type of stuff I want. If you're going to put me on Raw, I want to be that involved. I want to be on Raw every week. I want to have captivating storylines. I don't want to just be put on Raw, have a nice contract in the bank, and I'm just like sitting and catering. So I don't know. I think he should use those kinds of things to his advantage. Because then you
They
could
should.
also, as I said, look at Pretty Deadly. They ain't doing shit, and they were huge in NXT. Same thing with Dijak. I would be like, don't do that to me. If that's what you're playing, then bye. You know?
He's too talented too. Have him feud with Braun Breaker. Like Braun's just so out of control that Adam Pearce like I have to do something or whatnot, and then Dijak is the figure coming out of the shadows and like
Maybe,
feuds
but
him
they
this
might not.
battle.
They might want Braun to be against a more established person from the main roster first. You know,
Fair.
like build up that heat with him a bit more. Because I even think him going against like Ricochet and Ilya is a little questionable.
Oh, okay, I can see why, but
I think he needs to go
it.
he needs to go after someone like, and I'm not saying this, it's his first name, like Sheamus. Like he needs to go after a guy like that people care about and are invested in for people to properly hate him. Like people don't have like intense feelings for Ricochet or Ilya. You know what I mean? So it's like it's not going to get the same reaction that they probably want from Braun. He's getting a decent response, obviously, but it wouldn't be the same as if he went after Cody Rhodes or something. You know, like that would be way bigger.
He just absolutely spears the shit out of Cody Rhodes.
Oh my god, it's like we got rid of Brock Lesnar and we got a new one, a much tanner one.
Much tanner one.
Yeah.
And a Steiner version of it, which is just even crazier.
Yeah.
If you could think about that. Okay, I was gonna do that. I was gonna
sorry, I was deleting.
You literally deleted it as that was pretty funny.
Okay.
But yeah, Randy Orton gave his stamp of approval to Austin Theory by saying that he views him as a future world champion one day. Sarah, I know I can kind of guess what you say to this, but how about you just tell us what you think?
Okay, I have the quote first.
Nice. That's
yeah. So Randy said,
Cersei.
I don't have a crystal ball or anything, but Austin Theory is young and he's got a great look. I know where his head's at. I've had plenty of talks with him, and a lot of the things I did as a kid that I maybe shouldn't have, the distractions that I was confronted with, he doesn't have those. I think he's just a little more gung-ho, motivated, and he sees the goal, he sees the prize, he knows what he wants, and I think he'll definitely be a world champion one day. So I like that people think this in him, and I think I've said that I think that he needs a character change because I think it's just not working right now. I think that part of the problem is some of these types of heel characters where there's not a whole lot of depth to the character other than like, I'm better than you, I think I'm hot, like look at my abs, like I'm just cooler than you. Like that's not something that people really gravitate towards or really hate anymore. And it's like a certain type of person can really do that to get you to hate them. And I just don't think that Austin really has that. And it might just be because they're not really putting him in a situation to thrive with that character. Could also just be maybe he's too nice of a person in real life that it's just difficult for him to sell that. I know that for the most part, outside of like his run with the Way in NXT, I think that he's mostly been a heel throughout his career, even before he got to WWE. So it's just like, okay, you just think that that's what's going to happen. But I think if they can put him on a better track, then yeah, he could be a world champion. He probably should be a world champion. I feel like he could be a great babyface champion. At least
a really good babyface champion.
Yeah, I feel like the way, and I'm not saying that he is, but the way that people think that Cody Rhodes can be like a great babyface champion, it feels like to me, it's like, I think that Austin Theory could be in that situation. Not the same level as Cody Rhodes, I'm not saying that, but I do think that he could be like, if he's the face of Raw, like I could see, or something, you know what I mean? Like if he got moved to Raw, I could see that.
I could see
I think that
too.
I think it says a lot though when a guy like Randy Orton is saying this kind of stuff about him.
Oh, that means a lot. That's when you have a veteran like Orton in your corner that they view you as a world champion one day. That's not obviously the end all be all, but it definitely helps when somebody's in your ear trying to make that decision in creative. And not only that, this little mini feud, I would say, with his tag team champion partner, Grayson Waller, after what we saw on SmackDown, it's planting the seeds for him to be a babyface. It really is. Like, it's just, he's so, and Theory's just so innocent. You know what I mean? Like
That's what
he's
I'm saying.
just
It's
such a
'cause
nice
he's
innocent
yes. But he
that
like
you
doesn't want
wanted.
you to think that. You know what I mean?
No,
And it's
he
like he
wants to be
does
top dog.
play like an arrogant character really well. Like just the things that the mannerisms and the stuff that he does, like yeah, he can come off like that, but I just think that he's not in a position to thrive as that character, because I think that it kind of is like one of the stereotypical easy heel characters that anyone does, because it's like the easiest thing to do, but I don't feel like they're as popular as they once were, nor do they really garner as much hate as they used to. And so I feel like it's just not working for him. So I'm like, okay, then you got to utilize him in a different way and see what else he can do. And I feel like he could be really likable.
Very
Like,
likable.
why were they sending him to children's hospitals? You know what I'm saying? Like he was doing that shit. And it's like, yeah, because he's really nice, but he shouldn't be doing that because he's supposed to be hated, but you're still sending him with like Bianca Belair. Like, what are we doing? Like, why aren't you then taking advantage of him being this nice guy on screen? Like, actually do that.
I agree with that. Roman Reigns, you can tell me about this because I did not see this today. So inform me.
So Roman Reigns has been basically since WrestleMania. We knew he was going to leave after WrestleMania. He had been advertised to his first match being back was supposed to be at SummerSlam, but then he had been added to the SmackDown before SummerSlam. And apparently the latest update to the graphic promoting that show has now removed Roman Reigns.
Ooh.
So to me, I'm kind of like conflicted on this because I'm like, it's possible that he's not going to come back. I don't think people realize SummerSlam is 2 months away. So it's like, that's quick. Like it's the time between Mania and SummerSlam felt like a long time, but it's flown by.
It really
so
has.
I really like, there are people, and this irritated me too, because the aggregator accounts just annoy me sometimes a lot.
Of course.
They were pushing, how interested are you in, oh my gosh.
What?
My ringside collectibles order has shipped.
Let's go.
Is it all of it? Is it all of it?
I would hope so.
Oh my god, but then that means that my Pretty Deadly and Gunther figures are coming.
Look at your British boys are just coming home.
Okay, anyway. So people were saying like, okay, how interested are you in seeing Solo versus Roman at SummerSlam?
No.
Do you know, this is one of those things that I wish I had a burner account so I could tell these people how stupid they are. That's what
Thank you.
It's way too soon. It is way too soon to have that. Like, are you kidding me? That is having the original tribal chief versus the new tribal chief. Like, in what universe would we be doing that in 2 months? Like, so to me, removing him from the SmackDown lineup might just be, one, they're trying to keep his return secret. So if he is going to come back at that SmackDown, or if he is going to return at SummerSlam, maybe they want to have a little bit of secrecy to it, which I'm all for that. Or two, they're like, we need to push your return back. And Roman's like, yeah. You know what I mean? Like, he's not going to care, bro. Like, he might be doing other stuff, or maybe he can take a break and it's just a little extended. I'm for that because I think that they need to really figure out how they're going to bring him back, and the timing is going to be so crucial to what they're doing. So I'm like, you know, if you asked me this around SummerSlam or whatever, or I'm sorry, WrestleMania, I probably would have been like, are you kidding me? This dude is going to take more time off. But with what they're doing now, I feel like it kind of makes sense for them to push it out unless something drastic happens over the next like 7 weeks or whatever it is. Because SummerSlam is at the beginning of April this year, right? So
what?
Isn't SummerSlam at the beginning of August this year?
You said April at first.
I'm sorry. It's because I'm thinking about Mania.
August, yes.
Yeah,
It's
it had
been
it had been in the middle or towards the end. But I believe it's like the first week. It's like the first weekend of August.
It is August 3rd. Yeah, it is.
Yeah. So that's what I mean. So it's like it's a lot earlier. Than it has been historically. So to me, this could just be a move of them trying to just keep it under wraps a little bit. But
I would like that. You know, I'm for it. I want to be shocked as much as possible when I watch this stuff, and I don't need to be teased when Roman's coming back.
And
I want to be.
I want to just
What?
be shocked because the reaction.
Oh my god!
I want to see. The thing is I'm so excited because obviously he's a babyface already. Like, there's really nothing they could do about it. Like, there's a reason why people were chanting, "We want Roman" on the Raw after Mania. Like, and it wasn't because they were hating you, bro. You know.
No.
I'm curious to see a couple things, but mostly how he's going to react to that because it's been literally years since anyone has been cheering for him in a positive way. And two, how he'll be able to navigate a babyface run this time because, honey, that stuff from Succotash was not that long ago, and we do not need a repeat of that. Okay? You know? So he's thrived as a heel, not always on the mic. I don't care what anyone says because people are like, oh my God, he is so good on the mic. No, brother, he's not even John Cena. Let's stop. Like, no. Has he had his moments? Yes, but most of his run as a tribal chief on the mic has not been good. So I'm curious to see how he'll be able to like transition into a good guy again, because when he was a good guy, wasn't a historically good talker, but also they didn't have him talk a lot. Most of the time he was just like, "Oh, I'm a big dog. This is my house." That's all he said. And it's like, all right, bro, cool. This is my yard. Okay, cool. Good for you, dude. You know, sold some t-shirts. It sold some t-shirts.
It did sell some t-shirts. And then do we want to make, I'm keeping the bad gal. I'm trying to think of time here because Celtics and over talking of topics here. So we're gonna make this. There we go. All right. That and then actually, fuck it. Let's talk about this quick.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was just trying to delete this.
Let's talk about this quick. Actually, let's make it part of the 3 count. All right, take it back. 1, 2, 3. It's time for the 3 count. Last 3 topics of the show. All right, 1. Braun Breaker. They just want to push him to the goddamn moon. They want to. They alter. He's very highly impressed. The higher ups. And on top of that, they want to shuffle the original plans for him and create some new ones for him. I see this being some sort of championship picture or some big match or big feud because that, like, he's just crushed it so far. I mean, he was my rosebud this week. He's just so dominant. The spears, he's just an absolute ass kicker. And there's no just ass kicker straight up. Everyone's got something like, oh, Drew's an ass kicker, but he does this thing. Cody Rhodes he's kicks ass, but he's the face of the company. Braun Breaker just kicks ass. That's it. Like, he just kicks ass and leaves. It's pretty simple.
I think it's hilarious that this is even news. I mean, we're literally talking about like a long time NXT champion. We're talking about a Steiner child. We're talking about a Nepo baby. Like, come on. Is this really news that he's going to be pushed to the moon on the main roster? Is it really shocking that he's going to be a future champion? Like, really? That's why it's like, that's why when I sent it to you, because everyone was like, oh my God, WrestleVotes is saying this. Bro, this is not news. This is not breaking news. You do not have an insider telling you this. I could have told you this 2 weeks ago. I could have told you this before he got up onto the main roster. Of course this was going to happen. Unless he like dropped a racial slur on television, there was nothing that was going to like keep Braun Breaker from being a big star on the main roster. So I'm not trying to shit on you or anything. I'm just saying, like, to me, it's just funny that this is a big thing because it's like, okay, Carmelo Hayes is going to be a big star. Whoa. Like, are we really predicting things that are obvious now? That's what it feels like in this situation. Like, yeah, Braun Breaker is going to be a big star. Okay. We knew that. What's the news?
Look at him.
What's the shocking part? Like,
that's shocking. That should have been the bar. That should have been the banner.
Like, shocker. Breaking news. Braun Breaker is going to be a star. Wow. Okay. Never thought that. No, never would have guessed.
This is just more of a question I have that I just want to ask to the peeps and to the public or anyone. Brooks Jensen was part of that faction with Josh Briggs and Fallon Henley, and then he's obviously the forgotten middle child of that group. And he was apparently kicked out of the PC the other night during the NXT show taping, whatever you want to call it. And I can't tell, like, he's been name dropping TNA, said he wants to make an impact in the first video. And then the next one, he had Joe Hendry playing in the background. So obviously, I'm not going to, I know the people are like, of course, like they tweet about all this. Like, yeah, maybe. All right, fine. But they didn't give any substance to it. So I'm kind of in the dark. And to when you have the impact name, like that name dropped in the first, and then Joe Hendry in the background, is this the first step? This is how we're going to be teasing the TNA WWE NXT relationship? Is this type of shit? I just want to know.
I think they're probably I think it's a work, obviously. I think that it'd be pretty ballsy of him to be acting like this on social media if he hadn't been fired. I think that's like you're asking to be fired, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I do think that they probably want to hype it up a little bit about like who the first man from TNA is going to be to kind of like cross over into NXT. So I think that might be the whole point of this, because that is kind of exciting. You know what I mean? Like there's the Jordan Grace thing was great, but she has already kind of made an appearance, but like the men haven't. They haven't had the men because Mickie James had come back, but like they haven't had a man from TNA come around. So I think that might be what he's doing. Maybe he's either trying to push for it to be him that gets to work with whoever that is, or he's just trying to bring attention. I don't know. We know that they use social media to try and like get attention and drive interest in them. But I think, yeah, why wouldn't he have like the biggest, most viral guy in the background of his video right now? You know, like, yeah, he's gonna have Joe Hendry back there because then everybody was talking about it, not just because he has it back there, but it's because it's Joe Hendry, who's like the hottest thing in TNA right now. My guess is, yeah, that's just what it is. He's just trying to like hype it up and tease that maybe it will be Joe Hendry. I kind of find it hard to believe that it'll be him. Just because I feel like he's like the hottest, you know, he's the flavor of the week right now, but like we don't know if that's gonna last. And I'm not saying that in a disrespectful way, but we go through bouts like that, you know what I mean? In wrestling. Yeah. So I wouldn't be surprised if it's, you know, we talked about it, like maybe it will be Moose, but that's because Moose is like an established name in TNA. So like that might get more of a reaction than a temporary, like the Joe Hendry experience could be a blip in time. It's not going to hit as or stay as relevant as something like Moose is all I mean.
I hope he doesn't. I love Joe Hendry.
Yeah, I'm just saying because we haven't seen the longevity of it yet, because he's like the hottest thing with the song and it's catchy and it's this and this and that. He's gone viral, but we've seen how that goes sometimes. Like we saw everything with Zack Ryder and then how quickly that fell. So that's what I'm saying. Like we really don't know. Joe Hendry could be the next Zack Ryder, or he could defy the odds and actually stay relevant a lot longer.
And to wrap it up, 3, I'm not going to do the video this week. 1, because I have plans for them. I have plans for the videos that you've seen for YouTube, obviously. Those are in the works. I'm just going to tell you and update you, Sara, because a lot happened this week. Yeah, there goes my phone. A lot happened this week on the stream, and I didn't expect it to go this crazy, but it did. Okay. So you start out your debut on Raw. You kicked the shit out of Shotzi. Like really kicked the shit out of her.
Of course it did.
It was kind of a squash match for the local talent. Crazy.
Of course it did.
Well, that's what happens with the best of the West. Saying, representing TBD. You wore the TBD shirt out there. So
I don't really like the way that the shirts fit. Makes my boobies look like rocks.
You do. Your boobies do look
like rocks.
Yeah.
And looks like I had a botched surgery.
I wouldn't say botched. It looks like
they're like they're like hard as rocks, like in the middle of my chest. Like they're very close to each other.
It didn't, but it looks like on the outside, like it looks like
I've
fine.
watched plenty of episodes of Bosch where I feel like I have a problem. There's something going on there.
Okay, that's your thinking.
Also, we
but
need
you
to change
do.
her name.
All right, Joe. All right, then pick a fucking name. I don't
didn't
care.
hate Ramona. It was kind of a dumb name, but I liked it better than Joan.
I like.
What the fuck? No,
I don't know.
Ramona.
We'll have it. We'll have the peeps pick your name. How about that? Because I
Okay.
can't. You can't figure out a name. You asked. We need a name.
Okay.
But the bad gal is sticking because it makes sense.
Okay.
So you take on Shotzi. You're offered, right? Well, hold on. I'm jumping ahead. You're not only offered a WWE contract, you're only offered a Raw spot because after the match, Shotzi attacks you
Mm-hmm.
and you say, F this, I am that bitch. And you put her through a table. And then grab Byron Saxon's mic and cut a mini promo for yourself, shouting out TBD. So William Regal offers you the contract, and you're gonna say no, but your friend Geneva, who
Whoever
runs
that is.
CBD,
Mhm.
your best friend, she's like, whoa, William, she'll talk to you. So she convinces you to accept the contract and sign the contract. So now you're on Raw, and the thing with the story mode is there's a lot of like you can go in different paths. So, if you choose one superstar to feud with, one in that like backstage area when there's like 3 there, if you pick one, like you're in that for multiple weeks. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So we picked out of Bailey, Candice LeRae, or Carmella. Who would you have feuded with? Or went up to? Not feuded with. I take it back. In the locker room, so there's an option to pick Bailey, Candice LeRae, or Carmella. Who are you picking out of those 3?
Bailey.
Good. Then I made the right decision because you do go to Bailey. And Bailey's talking all this shit about if you want to be a big star here, you got to be on the hottest talk show in all of WWE. Ding dong, hello. You're like, oh, I'm all set. Thanks, Bailey, because you're too cool for that. You're the big dog now. And she's like, I wasn't asking you to be on it, but I did hear if you want some help that they're having a 4-way battle royal for some championship match or some match or whatnot. So we accept. That's what we do. We fight. So you do that. Here's the thing. You have to win the match because remember, it's a game, story mode. You don't. I lost twice. It was so hard in the Fatal 4-Way because, as you know, you can get pinned at any time. Any pinfall can happen. So one happened where I was just whipped into a corner, and then Raquel Rodriguez just pinned Natalia, which you couldn't I couldn't get out of it. Whatever. And then the second time, you got Tahana bombed by Raquel Rodriguez. That was tough. It was Raquel Rodriguez, Natalia, and Shotzi.
She's supposed to win if it's not us, apparently.
Exactly, because she's just killing you. And
so then you just need to keep going after Raquel from the beginning.
I did. That's smart. See, Sarah, it's like you're there already because that's exactly what we started doing. We got the pinfall over Raquel, I'm pretty sure. We hit her with, what's Zoe Stark's finisher?
Z360.
Z360. I'll come up with something cool because it's basically that. You hit her with that. That's your finishing move. I gave you the Razor's Edge.
I was going to say.
Signature. I gave you that as your signature.
Yeah. That's pretty badass for a girl.
It is. It is.
It's like, look at me. I'm so strong.
And you're tiny too.
I'm a strong
you're
girl.
You're strong girl, but who tiny and you.
Yeah, look at me. Look at me. Look what I can do.
And you pin her. You go backstage. Kayla Braxton's there. And we always talk to Kayla Braxton. We love Kayla Braxton here. She invites you on the bump. And that's why I asked you, what do you want to talk about? History, WWE. Here's the thing, Sarah.
I watched it, by the way. I was watching when it happened. Yeah.
Okay. So, as you can tell, or as you know already, it didn't even fucking matter what I posted.
Who was that, though?
That was Raquel Rodriguez.
Raquel attacked me?
Raquel attacked you.
While I'm on the bump in my titty white shirt.
Right?
My weird titty white shirt.
It was awful.
She saw my white t-shirt and was like, girl.
She got jealous.
She was like, girl.
Went right through Byron Saxton, just lifted you up and then just dropped you. It was chaotic. And that's where I said, look, I've had enough. I can't play. I've already played 4 matches because I played that goddamn match 3 times.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, you know what? Episode ends. So next week we have to battle Raquel Rodriguez for coming on the bump and fucking up with us. I don't like that.
Me neither.
So tune in next week to that. Twitch.tv/Nonsense Sports Network. We're making Sara WWE Women's Champion or Women's World Champion. Whatever the title is, we're going to grab it. You got Sara, the bad gal, and the captain of all things nonsensical as her manager in the corner. You can't miss it. It's so fun. I have so much fun doing it. It's awesome. You got to tune into it. Joan is old fashioned. Yeah, it is. It is.
That's why Ramona is better. Ramona.
All right. I'll change back to Ramona if no one else comes up with a better name. So.
The bad gal, Ramona.
All right.
It's just kind of funny.
All right. I'll change it back to Ramona. And that's all we got.
I would do so many edits to her if I could. I would change her look so much. But,
give me like a picture. I'll do it.
To look more like me. Hello.
Yo, you want the blonde hair?
Yes.
Okay.
And yeah, we could talk about it.
We could talk about it. So we're gonna make Joan the bad gal. We're gonna turn her into Ramona, more like Sara. Tune into that. I already gave her the Razor's Edge. We got to work on your entrance though, because now that you are a full-time Raw superstar, we do need to give you like a good entrance, maybe some pyro. You know what I'm saying?
I think we need to maybe no pyro.
You're not a pyro gal?
And no.
All right.
Razor Ramon, NWO, they didn't have pyro.
So do you want a screen effect then?
Yes. Give me just do everything NWO. Oh my god. I come out to their music. Oh my god.
I can see if I make that happen.
Oh my god.
We'll see.
Iconic. Yeah, make me the female NWO member. Female Judgment Day member. If you want to do a little bit.
Okay,
it's too bad that I'm being Ramona, because otherwise I would tell you maybe if I ever play, I'll just make myself another female member of Judgment Day, and then I'll have McDaddy and Baylor be my managers.
That's not bad. It's
Finn Baylor and McDaddy, JD McDaddy.
I'll tell you what, your story's better than the male story, because I just get brutally assaulted by Roman Reigns in mine.
Geez.
And just the Miz just trying to put me down. So it's a lot more fun in TBD. So thank you guys for tuning in to this edition of No Nights Off. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, bell notification to know every time we post and go live. We'll be back on Saturday. Saturday, 7 p.m. No pay-per-view. There's no nothing before it. So we will be going live. SmackDown's on tomorrow night. Go tune into that and go watch Celtics. That will be tipping off. I said 8:44. They're going to tip off. So go check out to see if I'm right, and go check us out.
And boo Kyrie.
No, fuck Kyrie. I can't stand you.
I know.
I can't stand him. So, that's all we got. Thank you guys for tuning in. God bless. Remember that you can do it. All you got to do is try. We'll see you on Saturday. Yeah.